YouTube. This is Mini back. Today I had some questions addressed on the C1 um, resin carbon signal resin trans kit we reviewed the other day on the channel. Um, First question was cleaning. How do you clean? Um, I'm always telling someone, about the preparations of cleaning resin. Make sure your resin is cleaned well before you go and start building it. So what I like to do is get a regular tray. All my trays are filled up right now. I would show you guys my exact tray. Um, but get your tray. Get your tray or bucket or something. I like to have something. I like to have something along with the lid. Huh. Didn't know I forgot I had that. I like to have something with the lid on it, so that way I can submerge it and let it set for a day or two. Just grab you a bucket. Thought that worked well. Cool Whip for a kick-ass resin body from C1. And then here, you want to soak your resin in Wesley's bleach white. You can see I bought the big bottle. I've had it since 2006. As long as you keep it in a concealed container, it doesn't lose its effect. You don't want to use no thinners, no isopropyl alcohol, anything like that, because believe it or not, resin is porous. And you want to make sure you get it all cleaned right. All the alcohol will do is dry the resin out. Actually, if you soak resin in alcohol, it will dry it out and make it pretty brittle. I recommend this or some dishwater, but dishwater is what I use after I let this soak and do a scrub in the Wesley's bleach white. One of the main tools, one of the main tips to building, one of the main tips, I'm sorry about that, guys. One of the main tips for these resin kits is you gotta make sure they're clean. And Chris does a fantastic job at C1 in casting and creating these resin. We've seen a lot of fails come just because people not cleaning right. I recommend cleaning every piece of resin, no matter who you get it from. If you get it from C1, if you get it from 81, if you get it from Zoom On, I even clean my 3D parts. You just never know what is in there. Prep is one of the best ways to go about not only just a good paint job, but a lasting paint job. Don't waste material by thinking you don't have to wash or clean something. A lot of people thinking they can primer it and it would be okay. Sometimes the primer looks like it adheres until you throw a base coat on it, and then you'll realize that it didn't, and you've already wasted the product. You can remove paint from resin. I recommend you not to, because the only way I know of to do it without damaging the resin is I hand strip it. I use duct tape, hobby knife, or good old-fashioned sandpaper and elbow grease, if you guys know what that is. Elbow grease is pretty cheap right now, but I recommend not to use it. You can pick this here in the States. You can pick this up at Walmart. You can pick it up at Walmart. Any automotive supplier should have it. If not, it's easily found on Amazon, eBay, stuff like that. I buy a lot of it, so I buy the big bottle. If you're just picking up little kits, like this and you don't plan to submerge a whole body or what have you, you can just buy one of the regular spray bottles. This right here is like the refill. You can see it's 64 ounces. It's pretty big. It's like the refill for the spray bottles. Windshield washer fluid doesn't have enough kick to work. That's why I recommend using the Wesley's Bleach White. Don't be fooled by the name. It is a super concentrated soap. It's really not bleached very much at all in there. It does say it's corrosive though. Oh, so don't drink this. Alright. Now, what I recommend, let's look at the body. Here is the old Sunny that we done already. And you could see where we cut the front end off of the last Sunny. And then if you look at the front end for this Sunny, always test fit. Like always test fit. And make sure before you start to clean anything that you trim it all up. You don't want one of the mistakes that we have with dealing with resin. We soak the part just like this out of the box. And then we pull it out and then we start cleaning it up. We start removing the flash that's down here. Focus. They'll start removing the flash down here or the spray or this brace in the back. And then what you've done is you subjected all the resin chemicals back out when you do this. So usually I do, I'll clean all this off before I go and start cleaning. But you can always size it up. Chris does a great job of getting it where it needs to be. If you see, that's my finger squeezing it now. It lines up really well. What I recommend to do, let's get, is draw you a line. You can use a scriber, use a tool. Don't use a knife. Use a scribing tool. I'll tell you guys something funny about this tool here in a minute. Me and George noticed. We noticed after the fact that we had these. We'll point something out. These aren't what you think they are. If you go and use your scriber back and forth like this to get it apart, sometimes you'll take off too much plastic on the side you need to keep. So what I would recommend to do if you're not used to using your scriber, say you're using the back of a number 11 blade, or you're using a pin that we showed you how Tom showed us over at the Scale Modeling channel how to make this scriber. Sometimes if you don't hold your hand right, you will cause a bigger gap when you're trying to put this in, to cut this off. So what I would recommend to do, leave the hood on, get you a marker, like this, and this is to help you guys that ain't used to doing the transfers. Take your marker across the door jamb like this, like that, and that way it's getting both sides of the fender. That way it's going to get both sides of the hood, because most likely you guys ain't going to reuse this front end on something. So what I usually do is trace it. I recommend you guys tracing it like that. Then cut on this side of the black marker. Cut this side of the black marker, and that way you can sand back and trim back to the jamb. If I do this real quick, it will show you what I mean. But it's easier to sand back. It's easier to sand back to get your fitment right with the C1 kit versus trying to add back to the door. You want to work smarter, not harder. I'm lucky enough. I have different tools and you guys might not have it at your ready. I have a paper saw. So what I would do is take your tape. What I would do is take a piece of tape, lay it along that black line. I even know some builders, if they want to open the doors on a kit, they're actually buying 2 of the kits. They're cutting one car, they're cutting the door short and trimming to the fender, and they're cutting the other car to the fender and then making the door. What I would do is put tape like that, so that way when you're running your scriber, that you're actually cutting along the tape, trying to get yourself a good even line, like so. And then, you know, you just build your tape up to give you a wall, like an edge, and then you just keep going back and forth until you cut through. Then on the sides, like I explained in the video, the sides are just the way Chris has designed it. Let me get the right side. The way Chris has designed it, it has your grooves and stuff in it. It has the top body line right here, right there, and then it'll have this lower stuff and that right there in it. So usually once you get this cleaned up, usually it's a pretty good fit right where you need it, right where you need to have it. So right there, and then what I usually do is glue my piece where I need it, like so, and then I use my Dremel to trim out all that leftover plastic. That's just my way. If you guys don't care for a minute, I'm going to yak this front end off and show you what I mean. I'm going to turn the Dremel on so you guys cover your ears real quick. Okay, since I have a bone saw, this right here, paper saw, it comes off really quick. And you'll see now we hacked up on this side of the front end because we won't be using it. What I recommend, even though we know we still got to trim back on this, I always just do, I always sand off what, it's always best to work with the clean. It's always best to work with the clean slate, and that way you get your truest edges and stackments and predicaments. Alright, so now that I did this, what I want to do now, get that trimmed off. What I do now is, after you do something like this, you know, because you hack the whole front end off, you know that you got to get this to fit in there somehow. So what I like to do is I always keep this on my bench, and I just get me a paper towel like so, then I take the black marker off, because we cut on the front side of the black marker. So I just use this, and usually it removes the black marker, but it leaves the black marker inside the jam, so that way it shows me where I need to cut back to. I'm going to use paper towels, a little rough. I'm going to use my t-shirt. And like I said, we showed you guys how I like to use the lighter fluid to remove tape residue, or something like that along the lines of that. Where's my hobby knife? Got a little edge right here. So now once you do all this and then you remove the black marker, it actually will show you exactly where the door line is and where the hood line and everything was. So you just come back in. You can either choose to hobby knife it, or you can choose to sand back to it. And like I said, I have more practice at this, so I'm going to be doing it a little faster, a little different than you guys, so just take your time. What I like to do is I like to start at the doors. So that way I know where I'm sanding and how all that is going. So we'll need to round that off a little bit when we get to it. And then, like I said, I use my hobby knife and go back. You guys can use sanding sticks if you have them. Sandpaper. Just be careful. Don't use sandpaper in your hand. You want to make sure and make sure that you want something with a little bit of stiffness, because your hand is uneven. Using your hand, guys, you can get pressure here and here, but through your crack you're not going to get no pressure. So you're actually just sanding here, here, and here, and you dig in because you don't have it flat. You see this sandpaper here is I took an old UMP buffer and I stick my sandpaper on it, because it'll help. And like I said, just take your time and work your way around where you need to be at. As you can see, we're getting a pretty good fit right there. And then we got a little bit. You can see where I still have the ink in that little chisel bit right there. But that's why I said you take your time and you size it up as you're going around. Chris makes a very good product. It's really, really close. There is a little minor tweaking. It is resin. It is getting packed and shipped from Europe over here. So, you got to see right there. That's a pretty decent jam. And then you just work your way around the build. And like I said, with using the marker, cut away from it, and then you can trim back to where you need. And like I said, I know a lot of builders who enjoy opening the doors, so when they do that, they will cut up two bodies instead of the one, and they get their doors from one body and they use the body of the car and hack the doors out of it, so that way they have fresh doors. That way they have fresh doors on their kits. And this kit here and this kit here were meant to be together, so that's why I'm choosing to take my time and show you guys what to do. I got a ton of projects already on the table, but when you get something this cool, you just want to get it out there and build it. Like I say, you see me, I'm using the hobby knife and working my way around. Be careful, I just snapped that. So I just snapped that, but it's a clean break, so we won't worry about that. You can too if you want to cheat. I do have a lot of cheating tools. I've been trying to show you guys how to do it. Where's my barrel sander? I do have a barrel sander. I'm going to sand through this right quick since I snapped that one piece. The Sunny kits themselves are different prices throughout eBay. I haven't seen none of these Sunny kits in the stores. Haven't seen none of these Sunny kits in the stores. But there are different prices across eBay. The kit will fit all three, so don't worry about if you see a gray box art, the blue truck on the box art. That's just all different grill options for the different Sunny years. I bet at one point, which I know Fujimi has been doing it. I don't know if Hasegawa will do it because this is a Hasegawa kit. Hold on, guys, one second. Alright guys, sorry about that. Phone call and I had to go check the door. And like I said, you know, you trim it up like that. I'm going to do this a little quicker. Now, the bleach white won't hurt regular plastic either, but I recommend you guys cleaning all your stuff before you get in the middle of all the work. The glues I use and won't be affected by the bleach white. Okay, now once you got everything cleaned up and cleaned off, take I use 220 to make sure. To make sure it's all nice and clean. And then, like I said, I broke this piece on accident.
That time was half an hour.
Go upstairs. Wait a minute. I'm doing something. What I'm going to do is reset this real quick, guys. Like I said, the glues I use are all in the minis giveaway toolbox we're going to be doing later on. Alright, so now I got that reset. Make sure everything you have done at this point is sanded smooth so you get the best fit. And then you size up what you need to size up. And look at where you need to. You'll have little bitty areas here and there that still need to be trimmed out. And that's why you take it a little at a time, guys. You don't just go in there and start hacking stuff off. Because sometimes you can make too much. Nothing worse than seeing somebody spend the money for the kit, like 32 euros for the trans kit, which here in the United States we're paying $1.40 per euro, so you're looking at about 50 bucks for this. And then make sure everything is sized up. You know what they say, test fit, test fit, test fit. So if you look at that, my gaps are good right there at the door. Turn it down. Sorry guys, I was trying to do this before the kids woke up, and it seems like now they're fighting against me instead of working with me. So what I do is I just grab my snips. This is such a good resin that I can just snip it and don't worry about it gunshotting across the room or breaking half the fender off. Even though there is some resin flash still on here, it still comes off pretty good. I use my roller bit here, my barrel drum sander, and then that will just clean all that off real quick. So then, right there, and that's what I say, guys, having a cheap tool really helps. Just go to Dremel or go to your Harbor Freight and look for, there's different sizes. I have a thick, fat one, and I have a small one for different areas of sanding. It's worth it. I see some more stuff here. That I want to get rid of real quick. Like I said, make sure you clean up all your pieces before you actually do this. I'm doing this a bit different for my own taste and for your guys' video. Go. Alright. And then you want to test fit. Make sure you get that in there like that. That looks good all the way around, up top, down low. That's all looking good. Get to this other side. That looks good. Up there looks good. Alright, and since Chris does such a well job on these, what I do now is get you some sheet styrene. I'm going to use 15. I'm going to use a .015 plastic strip like this. And it's a little thin. You can go up to, I wouldn't go much more than a 20, just because you're going to have distance for your inner frame and everything. So what I'm going to do, this right here, I'm going to cut it even. Make that even, and then cut this right down the middle. Give me 2 strips like this. Then what I do is I just take, like, if you have your hobby knife out, roll it over your hobby knife like this, like if you was pulling ribbon for a Christmas gift. Roll it so that way it gives you guys somewhat of a curve. Make sure you do both pieces. Make sure you do both pieces like this. Stop it. Alright. And then I put my glue down here. Make sure you have, before you put the glue on, make sure you have the right length. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. The kids are down here making me nervous. Then you want to do a 50-50. You want half of your plastic sticking out like this. Take a Q-tip so you keep a clean jam. I just run the glue straight like that with the Q-tip. Do the same to the other side. Bless you, Braden. And then I always clean up the glue like that. Give it a few seconds to set. As it's setting, you can get in here and you can do your test fitting. Just to see now that you have actually. And what I do is I use that instead of mounting straight to the truck itself and filling up all the jams. You're going to glue it to this strip, and that way you still have a door jam to work with. So if you see that, just like that, it's not glued yet, but Chris makes it to where it fits so well. Just when you add up pieces of plastic, it'll actually hold itself up for a little bit. Alright, now that those plastics there are done, you don't want to glue the whole piece of plastic. You just want to go right along this front edge.